All right, so buckle up, everyone, because today we are diving deep, deep into something I know a lot of you are curious about: manifestation and that whole law of attraction thing.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, like that idea that you can attract what you want just by thinking about it. We're going way past the surface level stuff, though. We've got excerpts from this book that really takes a swing at that whole positive thinking thing.
I think some people might be surprised to hear what this book has to say.
Yeah, and I've got to say, even I was like, whoa, when I first read some of this stuff. It's pretty wild. Okay, so you know how everyone's always like positive vibes, positive
Oh,
vibes?
yeah.
Well, this book is basically saying, hold up a sec. It's not just about thinking positive, it's about the feeling behind the thought.
That's a really interesting point.
It is, right?
Yeah, because this source is introducing the idea of vibrational frequency.
Ooh, that sounds kind of sciencey.
It is, a little bit, like it
Mm.
ties into string theory and quantum physics.
Oh boy, here we go with the physics.
But don't worry, we won't get too lost in the weeds.
Please no.
It's more about the basic idea that everything in the universe is made up of energy,
Yeah.
right? Even our thoughts and feelings.
Okay, I'm following.
And that energy vibrates at different frequencies.
So it's like our thoughts and feelings are sending out these signals and they attract things that have a similar vibe.
Exactly. And the source uses this really cool analogy about online racing games to explain it.
Okay, I love a good analogy.
So think about it this way. If just thinking about driving a Ferrari could actually make one appear in your driveway, every single gamer would be a car collector, right?
That's so true. But then why do people make vision boards and stuff?
That's where the feeling part comes in. The book's saying that while visualizing is a good start, it's that feeling, that emotional energy behind it that actually
Yeah.
shapes things.
Okay, so if I'm always stressing about money, am I somehow attracting more money problems?
It's interesting, right? The source says our dominant emotional state, our vibrational frequency, acts like a magnet, drawing in experiences that resonate with that frequency, whether we realize it or not.
Okay, so even if I'm trying to think positively, if I'm deep down feeling scared or whatever, those feelings could be overriding my thoughts.
That's what the source is saying.
Wow.
And get this, the book also talks about how it's totally possible to have bad feelings paired with good thoughts, which can really mess things up.
Wait, hold on. How can you have bad feelings and good thoughts at the same time?
Right. It sounds weird, but I bet we've all been there.
Yeah, maybe.
Think about someone who, really wants to be healthy, but deep down just doesn't believe they can be.
Okay, I can picture that.
They might say all the right things, but their underlying feeling is one of, disbelief or even resignation.
So it's not enough to just think it, you have to really feel it too.
You got it. The source is all about aligning our feelings with what we want. It even gives this powerful example about helping others to show how even good actions can have unintended consequences if the feeling behind them is off.
Hold on, how can helping others be a bad thing?
Oh, it's not about helping being bad, but the source is pointing out that if you're helping someone out of obligation or resentment, those negative feelings can actually taint the action and lead to unexpected outcomes.
So you're sending mixed signals energetically.
Exactly.
Wow, okay, so we gotta be really honest with ourselves about how we're truly feeling about stuff. No more slapping on a happy face if there's some deep fear lurking underneath.
Totally. The source suggests that instead of fixating on specific things we want to manifest, we should focus on expanding the scope of our desired feelings.
Okay, I'm not sure I follow you on that one.
So let's say you're dreaming of living in this amazing mansion.
Who isn't?
Right. But instead of getting hung up on every detail of the house, the source recommends focusing on those feelings you associate with it: spaciousness, abundance, beauty, peace.
So tune into the essence of what you want instead of the specific thing.
Exactly. And here's where it gets really cool. The source says you can start experiencing those feelings now in your everyday life, even if you don't have the mansion yet.
Wait, so if I want to feel abundant, but I'm totally broke, I should just pretend I have a ton of money?
It's not about pretending. It's about finding ways to cultivate those feelings of abundance in your current reality.
Hmm.
Like maybe it's appreciating the abundance of nature around you, or the love in your relationships, or even just simple joys in your everyday life.
It's about shifting your perspective, right? Focusing on what you do have instead of what you don't.
Precisely. And by doing that, you start to align your vibe with the frequency of abundance.
Okay, this is making so much more sense now.
To do it.
It's not about faking it. It's about finding ways to genuinely feel the emotions associated with what you want, even in small ways.
They're getting it.
This is honestly blowing my
I
mind.
know, right? It's powerful stuff.
So we've got to get our feelings aligned. But how do we know if we're on the right track? Like, are there any signs we should be looking for?
You're in luck because the source talks about this too.
Oh, good.
It encourages us to pay attention to synchronicities and signs related to what we want. It's like the universe is sending us little clues.
Ooh, signs from the universe. Okay, I like where this is going.
But it can be tricky to know for sure if it's a real sign or just wishful thinking.
So how do you know the difference?
Well, the source says that genuine synchronicities usually feel different. They have that, like, unexpected alignment, you know, that serendipity.
Oh, yeah, like when things just fall into place effortlessly or you stumble across some information that feels like perfectly timed.
Exactly. The author even shares their personal story about wanting to study at Peking University and how they started noticing all these signs related to Beijing even before they applied.
Oh, wow. So what kind of signs?
They were seeing Chinese characters everywhere. They overheard conversations about China, and they even like randomly stumbled upon a documentary about Beijing on TV.
Whoa, that's pretty wild. Talk about signs. It reminds me of those times when you're thinking about someone and then they call you out of the blue.
It's like that, yeah.
Okay, I'm going to be looking out for those aha moments from now on.
I think we all should be.
Okay, now I got to ask about something that always bugged me. What about that whole fake it till you make it thing? Doesn't that contradict everything we've been talking about?
You bring up a good point because the source actually challenges that very idea.
Haha, I knew it.
It's like, why pretend to believe something if you really don't, you know?
Right. I mean, deep down, you can't really fool yourself, can you?
Exactly. The source explains that our subconscious minds are way smarter than we give them credit for. It gives this example of someone trying to manifest a marriage partner, but they're secretly jealous of their friend's wedding.
Ouch. That's gotta hurt.
Right. And the book is saying that no amount of positive affirmations can mask that underlying feeling of lack.
So, like, if I'm trying to manifest abundance, but I'm secretly terrified of success, that fear could actually sabotage my efforts, even if I'm doing all the right things.
That's a possibility the source brings up. And it says our true feelings will eventually come out, often through unexpected events or challenges. It's like those hidden beliefs are creating resistance.
This is a lot to take in.
It is, right?
Okay, so we've talked about the importance of feelings, aligning our vibes, paying attention to signs, and being real with ourselves. But what about those, like, really deep beliefs we might not even be aware of? How do those play into this whole thing?
That's a great question, and it leads us perfectly into what the source talks about next.
Mm.
It wants us to examine those seeds that were planted in our subconscious way back in childhood.
Oh, this is getting good. I love a good childhood story.
It's saying that those early beliefs, especially around things like our self-worth, relationships, work, money, they can have a huge impact on our ability to manifest our desires as adults.
So even if we're consciously trying to attract something positive, we could be subconsciously sabotaging ourselves with these old limiting beliefs.
Exactly. It's like trying to plant a flower in a pot full of weeds.
That's such a great visual.
The source acknowledges that figuring out these hidden beliefs and changing those old patterns can be tough,
Yeah, no kidding.
but it does offer some helpful guidance.
Well, I think we've definitely given everyone a lot to think about for now.
Yeah, we've covered a lot.
I'm really excited to keep going with this next time and explore some of those practical tips for like actually unearthing and transforming those pesky limiting beliefs.
We're just getting started.
So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with more from this mind-blowing book on the power of feeling and how to become like a conscious creator of your own reality.
I can't wait.
Okay, so before the break, we were getting into all those hidden beliefs, those weeds in our subconscious that we pick up in childhood.
Right, those programs that could be running in the background.
Totally. And they can really mess with our manifesting game.
It's pretty wild how they can create resistance, even when we're like trying to attract positive things.
Yeah, like it's like trying to drive with one foot on the gas and one on the brake. You're not going to get very far that way. So how do we start like digging up these beliefs and rewriting those old scripts?
The source has a cool idea about that.
Okay, I'm listening.
It suggests paying attention to those times when we're thinking about our desires and then like noticing our emotional reactions.
Okay.
It says those emotions can be like an inner guidance system, like a little red flag
I like that, an inner guidance system.
pointing out where we might be out of alignment.
So let's say I'm like visualizing myself landing my dream job, but all I feel is anxiety and self-doubt. Like, is that a bad sign?
It could be, yeah. It could be a sign that there's There's some subconscious belief hanging out under the
It's
surface.
like my inner self is saying, hold up, something's not right here.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's say I notice those negative feelings creeping in. How do I actually like shift those beliefs? Is there some magic affirmation I can say or something?
If only it were that easy.
I know, right?
The source doesn't really offer any quick fixes. It's more about um, seeing this as a journey, like an ongoing process.
Ugh, I was hoping for a shortcut.
We all do, but real change takes time.
True, true.
But the source does give us some practical techniques we could try. One of them is to uh, actively challenge those negative thoughts with, like, evidence.
Okay, so instead of like getting stuck in that I'm not good enough loop, I could remind myself of times when I've been successful.
Right. Or times when people have given you positive feedback.
Yeah, like focusing on the proof that supports a more empowering belief.
Exactly.
I can get behind that. What else?
The source also recommends surrounding yourself with supportive people,
Oh, yeah. Your tribe, your crew.
people who believe in you, who uplift you, because their positive energy can be contagious.
I've totally noticed that. Like my energy definitely shifts depending on who I'm hanging out with.
Right. It's like our vibes rub off on each other.
For sure.
But the source is also clear that it's not just about external support.
What else is there?
It's about self-love and compassion,
Ah, so important.
being kind to ourselves, treating ourselves with the same understanding that we would offer a friend.
It's so easy to be our own worst critics.
Way too easy.
But we've got to remember that we're worthy of love and support even when we mess up.
Totally. Because self-acceptance, that's key to creating a more positive, aligned vibe.
Love that.
It's like making peace with where you are while still moving towards what you want.
Okay, so we're uncovering those limiting beliefs, we're challenging them, and we're giving ourselves a whole lot of love. But how can we tell if we're like actually aligned with our desires? Any clues?
You remember we talked about synchronicities earlier.
Yeah, the signs from the universe thing, it still feels a little fuzzy to me.
Well, the source says that when you're truly on the right path, things just seem to work out for you.
Oh, like the universe is conspiring in your favor.
Right. You start to notice those opportunities and those synchronicities just they pop up.
It's more than just wishful thinking then. Like there are real signs.
That's what the source suggests. It's about noticing those times when things fall into place.
Effortlessly.
Yeah, like you're in the flow, everything feels easy.
Ah, that makes sense. Like the universe is giving you a thumbs up. This is for you.
Exactly.
Okay, cool.
And sometimes it's about getting guidance and support from unexpected places.
Ooh, like what? Give me an example.
It could be like a random encounter with someone who just happens to have the information you need, or a sudden inspiration that comes out of nowhere, or even, a book that just falls off the shelf and it has the answer you've been looking for.
Those moments of serendipity.
Totally.
Yeah, I love those. Like following breadcrumbs to your destiny.
Right. And the
Ah.
source wants us to pay attention to those little coincidences.
Okay, I'm definitely going to be more mindful of that.
Me too. Trust your intuition.
Okay, so besides all the self-love and weeding out bad beliefs, what else can we do to stay aligned with what we want?
Well, the source talks a lot about gratitude.
Oh yeah, gratitude. I've heard that before. Like it's a magnet for good things. But how does that actually work?
It's about shifting your energy. When you focus on what you're grateful for, you move from a place of from lack to abundance.
Like you're telling the universe, hey, I'm already blessed. Send me more of that good stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
And the more abundance you feel, the more you attract. It's like a positive feedback loop.
Exactly.
That's so cool. This whole idea of aligning your vibe with what you want makes me think of something the source mentioned earlier about quantum physics.
Yeah.
It was talking about how our thoughts and feelings can actually influence reality.
That's one of the deeper themes here.
I have to admit, I'm a little skeptical. Like, is there any real science to back that up, or is it more of like a philosophical idea?
The source doesn't get too specific about scientific studies,
Okay.
but it draws on principles from quantum physics,
Mhm.
like entanglement and the observer effect.
Okay, I've heard of those.
These ideas suggest that consciousness, our observations, can actually influence reality.
So it's more about opening our minds to the possibilities.
I think so. It's about considering the idea that we might have more power than we realize.
I like that.
It's definitely thought-provoking.
Totally. So even if we don't totally get the science, the idea that our thoughts and feelings can shape our experiences is pretty mind-blowing.
It really is. It challenges how we think about the world.
For sure. Okay, so how do we actually like align our vibration with what we want?
Well, one thing the source suggests is engaging in activities that bring us joy, things that make us feel alive.
So it's not just about visualizing and affirming, it's about actually living in alignment with what we want.
Yes, embodying the energy of our desires.
Okay, that makes sense. But how do you do that when your current reality feels so far from what you want?
That's a good question.
Like, if I want to attract abundance, I need to feel abundant, right? If I
Mhm.
want to attract love, I need to feel love.
Exactly.
But what if that feels impossible right now?
Well, the source says even small steps count. It's about finding ways to express our passions, even in little ways.
So, like, if I dream of being a writer, I could start a blog or join a writing group.
That's a great example. Or if you want to be a chef, you could experiment with new recipes,
Mhm.
or take a cooking class.
Little ways to bring your dreams into your present reality.
Exactly.
That's really cool. So besides following your bliss, what else can we do to raise our vibration and align with our desires?
The source is a big advocate for self-care.
Ah, yes, self-care, the cure for everything.
Pretty much, it's about doing things that nourish your mind, body, and spirit.
So like meditation, yoga, spending time in nature, listening to good music, all that good stuff.
Yes. And the source also talks about cultivating a positive mindset.
Okay, so choosing to see the glass half full, right? Focusing on the good.
Exactly. It's like training your mind to focus on solutions instead of problems,
I like that.
and choosing to see the beauty and the opportunity in every situation.
Consciously choosing to tune into that positive frequency.
Yeah.
This is really empowering. It feels like we're like taking control of our energy and actually shaping our reality.
And that's what the source is all about, becoming conscious creators of our own lives.
Wow. This deep dive has been incredible.
It's been quite a journey.
I feel like we're finally getting to the heart of how this whole manifestation thing actually works.
Me too.
It's not about magic or wishful thinking.
It's deeper than that.
Yeah, it's about understanding the power of our thoughts, feelings, and actions, and then choosing to align them with what we want.
And there's one more thing, one last little nugget of wisdom from the source that I think ties everything together beautifully.
Okay, I'm ready for it. What's the final piece of the puzzle?
It encourages us to question those those seemingly positive thoughts that might actually be hiding negative feelings.
Okay, that's interesting. Can you give me an example? Like, what kind of positive thought could actually be masking something negative?
Sure. So imagine someone who keeps telling themselves, I need to work harder to be successful.
Okay, that sounds like the classic hustle mentality. Work hard, play hard, right? But you're saying there could be something deeper going on.
The source wants us to look at the feeling underneath that thought. Is it coming from passion and purpose, or is it more about fear and scarcity?
Like maybe a belief that we're not enough as we are, that we have to constantly prove ourselves.
Exactly. Because if that's the case, no amount of hard work is going to bring true fulfillment.
Wow, that's a powerful insight. It's like we're trying to outrun our own shadows.
But they just keep following us.
So instead of focusing on what we don't have or haven't achieved, we should focus on cultivating a sense of inner wholeness and worthiness,
Exactly.
recognizing that we are enough
Right now.
just as we are.
That's where true fulfillment comes from.
I love that.
It's about aligning with our authentic selves and allowing abundance to flow into our lives.
It's not about forcing or striving,
It's about allowing.
trusting that we're already whole, worthy, and capable.
This really resonates with me.
Me too. It's mind-blowing stuff. We've uncovered so many layers of truth in this deep dive.
And I think we're at a good place to pause and reflect on everything we've discussed.
Yeah, I think we've given everyone a lot to ponder.
Let's take a moment to gather our insights, and then we'll come back to share some closing thoughts.
Okay, deep divers, we are back, and I am so ready to wrap up this incredible exploration of manifestation and the power of feeling.
I know, me too. It's been quite a journey.
It has. We've gone deep, haven't we?
We have.
Like from those hidden subconscious beliefs to those signs from the universe. It's amazing what you can uncover when you start like really paying attention to your inner world.
Right. And it's like we've been peeling back the layers of an onion,
I love that analogy.
revealing deeper and deeper truths about how we create our reality.
So true. Okay, but before we get too philosophical here, let's bring it back down to earth for a sec. You mentioned there was one final point from the source that kind of ties everything together,
I did.
and I am dying to know what it is.
This last point is all about questioning those seemingly positive thoughts that might actually be rooted in negative feelings.
Okay, you've definitely got my attention. Can you give me an example? Like, what kind of positive thought could be masking something negative?
Okay, so let's say someone keeps telling themselves, I need to work harder to be successful.
Hmm. Yeah, that sounds pretty familiar. Like the whole hustle mentality.
Right. Work hard, play hard.
Yeah.
But the source wants us to look deeper, to ask ourselves, what's the feeling behind that thought?
Okay, so is it coming from a place of passion and purpose? Or is it like fear and scarcity?
That's the question.
I think a lot of us, myself included, have totally bought into that hustle harder mentality without like even questioning it.
It's easy to do.
It's like we've been programmed to believe that we have to constantly be striving and grinding to be worthy,
But the source is challenging that belief.
which I kind of love.
Yeah, it's saying that if we're coming from a place of lack, we're probably going to just attract more lack.
Makes sense.
It's like we're trying to outrun our own shadow.
But it just keeps following you.
Right.
Okay, so instead of focusing on what we don't have or haven't achieved, we should focus on cultivating that sense of inner wholeness and worthiness.
Exactly.
Recognizing that we're enough.
Right now, just as we are.
I love that so much.
That's where true fulfillment comes from.
It's not about forcing or striving.
It's about allowing.
Trusting that we're already whole, worthy, and capable of creating the reality we want.
And I think that's one of the most powerful principles of all.
It really is. This whole deep dive has been incredible.
I agree.
I feel like we've learned so much and gained some really valuable insights.
It's been a pleasure exploring this with you.
I know I'm going to be thinking about this for a long time.
Me too.
And to all our listeners out there, we hope this deep dive has given you some food for thought. Maybe even inspired you to take a closer look at your own beliefs about manifestation.
Remember, it's not about being positive all the time or pretending that negative emotions don't exist.
It's more about becoming aware of those thoughts and feelings.
Questioning them.
And choosing to align your energy with what you really want.
So we'll leave you with this final question from the source. What seemingly positive thought have you been holding on to that might actually be rooted in a negative feeling, that might be blocking you from what you really want?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Take some time to reflect on that.
See what comes up.
Until next time, deep divers.
Keep exploring, keep expanding, and keep aligning with the magic of your own being.